When I was a kid, I used to tell stories. I was about 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. I used to make up little stories and talk to my friends about them. I remember I used to draw stories for myself. What I would do is take a sheet of paper and I would draw a horizontal line. That was the ground. And then I would draw little stick figures and I'd have them walking around on the ground and meeting each other and punching each other. I was very violent. Kicking each other. They'd pull a gun and I put a cowboy hat on one stick figure. He was John Wayne. He pulled a gun and he shot another stick figure, and I made up these little stupid stories for myself. So I guess that wasn't unlike what I do now. But coming up with stories, the nice thing about it is it's not something that you have to stop when you reach a certain age. I mean, I can think of a story now as easily as I could years ago. Maybe it takes me longer to write it, but it's fun. And if I weren't doing that, I'd have to work, and I don't want to do that. If you're writing a story, you try to make it realistic, even if it's fantasy, even if it's a fairy tale, it doesn't matter. You want to make it as realistic as you can. Comic books for kids, years ago, were not thought of very highly. And when I say years ago, I'm going back to the 50s, because frankly, most of them were not all that well written. Most of the publishers, and I know because I worked for one, said, all I want is a lot of action and fight scenes. Don't worry about dialogue and characterization and all that nonsense. Give me fight scenes. That's what the kids like. So there were a lot of fight scenes in the comics in those days. And parents didn't want their kids, a lot of parents, to read comic books. When I was writing them, I myself got kind of sick of the kind of things that I was asked to write. So in around 1960, I decided I would quit and do something legitimate. And my wife said to me, she's a wonderful person, she said to me, you know, Stan, if you want to quit anyway, why don't you write one book the way you think a comic ought to be done, and you'll get fired, but so what? You want to quit. So I tried what I wanted to do with a book called The Fantastic Four. Thank you, Fantastic Four lovers. I tried to give them personalities. I tried to be careful with the dialogue. I had every one of them speaking differently than every other, different speech pattern, you might say. And I tried to get a story that was really a story. I didn't get fired. The book sold very well. And my publisher, who was no idiot, came to me and said, why don't you do a few more like that? So then we did the X-Men and the Hulk and so forth. And we were off to something. Now, let me tell you why comics today, which are much better written, and graphic novels really are good for kids, for reading. A youngster picks up a comic book and is intrigued and interested because of the exciting drawings, the pictures. Starts to read the dialogue. Some of the dialogue he or she doesn't understand. The words might be too big for them. But they can't enjoy the story without knowing what that says. So they'll ask their parents, what does that word mean? They'll go to a dictionary. It's not the worst thing that can happen. I have had so many parents and so many teachers tell me how grateful they are to comics because they have helped interest kids in reading and helped made them better readers.